One of the most important lessons I've learned in life as a leader for many, many years, over 30 years, is that I need to learn to lead with humility. Let me repeat that. Lead with humility. There is so much pomp and ceremony around you if you're a leader, whether you're a government leader, a minister, president, or CEO of the company, and or group executive member, or head of the department, principal, teacher, whatever you are, priest, pastor, there is so much pomp and ceremony that actually may go into your heart, mind, and soul and create an element of arrogance. So I have to emphasize this. Lead with humility. Everyone needs to learn to be more humble. What do you need to do to demonstrate that? Is that you need to really position yourself with everyone that you work with and interact with in such a way that they feel they can access you, they feel that you are with them, and you're not above them. You're not sitting on that pedestal, that you're a little demigod. But they feel that you are accessible, you can interact with them. The second thing that you need to think about is consider yourself as a servant. Honestly, leadership is about serving all around you. It's serving the purpose of the organization, serving the goals of the organization, serving the purpose of the nation, serving the people. You know, the concept of servant leadership has been thrown out of the window now because we've got so much ego around the super CEOs in particular. It's about serving. It's about lowering your defenses so that people can see that you're vulnerable also. It's about withholding judgment. You know, sometimes we just like to judge people. It's about being there and helping people and serving them. Pope St. Francis, when he defines the concept of humble leadership, he says, you must smell like a flock. Smell like your flock. In other words, spend time with the frontline staff and team. Feel, experience, smell what they are going through. Specifically develop programs to make sure that even your senior management goes and work with the team. It's so important that we do that. In my organization, I just want to make sure that people, before they become senior managers, they go and serve as a petrol attendant first, so that they can experience the first customer interface. That helps them to understand what it means to support that petrol attendant who is our first line communicator or interactor with our customers. We also need to think very carefully about how we judge. There's a difference between assessment and judgment. And sometimes as leaders, we like to arrogate ourselves into a position of being a God to judge people. No, we need to assess people. And the idea of assessing is to assess people with the aim to develop their areas of improvement and give them an opportunity to grow and develop. It requires a dialogue. It requires an opportunity for them to give you feedback. It requires a mutual respect. It requires the positive qualities of finding ways to strengthen your leadership team and yourself and their people that work with them, and invest in supporting them instead of being a judge and pointing a finger at people. It requires that we don't just twinkle and change things, but we need to reinvent things. Particularly those organizations that are old and stereotyped, that are hierarchical. It's important that you reinvent them, because those ones were based on the fact that the boss is a boss. You have to reinvent them so that you can unleash the potential of other people, develop it, embrace it, and make sure that they participate in reinventing the organization. We need to look at practices in the organization, business practices, and see whether they reflect the ethos of humility. DOAs, for instance, delegation of authorities, are they just hierarchical, or they actually empower the people to make decisions? Promise you, you have to maintain your employees, and you can only maintain them if they feel that they are working for a humble leader. One of the great things a humble leader does is to make inclusion a top priority. Inclusion is to create an environment where everybody feels welcomed, feel embraced, feel that they can make a contribution, and they can get their input into decision making, and they can be trusted advisors with diverse experience. They can help in making a good decision, and they're not afraid to tell the leadership what they think is wrong. One of the great things that you need to do when you're leading with humility is avoid this insularity. In other words, you insulate yourself into your big office out there and a corner office, and people are scared of coming. And when they are coming to your office, they feel that they are coming to a principal's office to be spanked. No, you cannot isolate yourself in the business this day and time, because it's highly competitive, it's highly volatile, it's changing so fast. And if you just insulate yourself, I'm telling you, before you wake up, the world would have passed. And you wouldn't know what hit you and what hit your organization. Therefore, it's very, very important to continue to have accessibility to the people and people accessibility to you as a leader. That's a sign of humility. Some leaders are so inaccessible, it's unbelievable. You give them a call, they don't answer your call. You send an email, they don't return your email. It's pure arrogance. Don't tell me you don't have a time to return calls. Even how busy you are, your PA can be able to prioritize that. Another very important aspect of being a humble leader is that don't be fixated with your ideology, with your worldview that basically is intransigent. And you're the only one who is right. Choose pragmatism. Be alert, be practical, be proactive. Acknowledge reality and make appropriate adjustments every time. If you don't, I promise you, your competitors are just going to overrun you. And it's also important, the optics around you as a decision maker. If you look aloof and you look like it's very difficult to access you, there's like 3 or 4 bodyguards that make you the person who is now the most important person who cannot be accessed. Those optics make people to say, okay, leave him alone. Let him make all the decisions. And when they go wrong, people just look aside and say, he didn't listen. That's why things are going horribly wrong. It's very important to also understand in your organization that every organization has got politics. It's important that you resolve all those conflict areas. And if you're not close to the organization, you will never be able to pick up those and resolve conflicts that can be dysfunctional. It is also very important to continue to delegate and trust your people. Trust your people. People are smart. People want to work. People are motivated to make a difference. And if you give them an opportunity, they will surprise you. And it's important that your people understand the customers. In fact, they understand better than you sometimes. Don't you dare micromanage people. Allow staff to make decisions and judgment calls. These things show humility. And it's intellectual humility is more important sometimes. Because if you believe you're intellectually superior than any other person in the organization, and you believe that your ideas are the best ideas in the whole world, you will fall into a trap of what we call intellectual arrogance. And you are going to make major mistakes. As a leader, it's very important to live what we call in the frontier, in the front line. Be close to the people on the ground. Some great leaders actually know a person from the security gate, right through to the reception by name, right through to a person who is a cleaner. And those people, when you call them by name, it makes a huge difference. And sometimes you may have to make decisions which are unorthodox. But you are a humble leader. Your role as a leader is to serve. If you can understand that, that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, there are times, as a humble leader, you have to confront adversity. And when it comes, you confront it head on. Humility does not mean weakness. It means you need to be able, in a humble way, confront adversity. You can't hide from it. Deal with it promptly, decisively. Delaying actions raises suspicion and invites criticism. If there's anything that needs to be done, you do it quickly, particularly if there is a toxic person in the organization. Move with speed, especially if it doesn't reflect the values of humility. Even if he's a great performer and he brings all the orders, he brings all the sales, but if it doesn't reflect the spirit of humility and rub short everyone in achievement of his or her goals, be decisive in dealing with that, person or individual. Also, humility simply means that you're not only serving your customers, but you're serving other stakeholders, non-customers, the community in which you operate, stakeholders in government, stakeholders in the environment. It means you need to understand that humility is not only serving one stakeholder that is a shareholder, but all other stakeholders that are around your organization. Critical to do that, because humility requires that you serve all your stakeholders. And again, I just want to finish and complete this session by saying the season of super CEOs, the season of arrogant CEOs, the season of arrogant leaders is gone. The world that we're facing now is a completely changed world. It requires a completely different leadership style. It requires leaders that are humble, because there's so many uncontrollables right now. The world is uncontrollable. Therefore, if you think because you're arrogant, you want to control everything, you'll fail dismally. I urge you to develop first your inner humility, knowing that you're not an all-knowing person. You need other people around you. Thank you.
Unleashing Leadership Potential's mobile app will enable you to view and listen to our monthly leadership conversations about leadership development through engaging with prominent ethical leaders, hearing their stories, and learning from their successes and failures. Access premium content and teachings for a small subscription fee. By downloading the app, you can access teachings from Maurice Radebe, access monthly free content, exclusive Q&A sessions, stay up to date on our up-and-coming events. Download the app now.